Okay, let's move towards the next concept. This is a very, very important concept because nowadays all systems are working based on this concept only. That is distributed application development. So very, very important. Nowadays, we are able to communicate with different people from different locations just because of this concept only. So we're able to perform different transactions online. We are able to send the communication from one location to another location just because of this application, distributed application. Okay, so let's see what is a distributed application. Okay, for example, in the 80s, when the ATM concept was introduced for the first time. For example, let's say I took new account from SBI account. I took new account from SBI bank. So once you take account from SBI, immediately you will be provided some debit card. Once you receive your debit card, now I can start withdrawing my money from any SBI ATM. Any SBI ATM. Let's say this ATM is in Hyderabad, located in Hyderabad. And this ATM is located in Mumbai. This ATM is located in Mumbai. Right? So the ATM can be from anywhere. Okay. So when it comes to banking applications, every bank will maintain their own database server and their customer details will be maintained under their database server. For example, when it comes to SBI Bank, all SBI customers will be there under SBI Bank. And when it comes to ICICI, it is a different bank. All ICICI customers will be available under ICICI Bank. So what I was trying to say is SBI customers data will not be available under ICICI. ICICI customer data will not be available under SBI. So everyone will maintain their own database server to maintain their customer details. Okay. Now it is clear that all SBI customers details will be there in only SBI database. Okay. Now I am the customer of SBI. I got my debit card. Now I can start withdrawing my money from any SBI ATM across India. When the ATM concept was introduced for the first time, if you are the customer of SBI, you should withdraw your money from only SBI ATM. You cannot withdraw your money from other bank ATMs. That is what we are having in the beginning, right? We were able to withdraw money from that same bank ATM. If I am the customer of SBI, I was able to withdraw money from only SBI ATM. There was no chance to withdraw your money from other bank ATMs. That option was not available when ATM was introduced for the first time in the 80s. You should withdraw your money from only your bank ATM. You cannot withdraw money from your other bank ATMs. That is what we used to do in the beginning when ATM was introduced for the first time, right? So actually what happens whenever I insert my debit card into any bank ATM, so what process will take place? Okay, let's say I got my debit card. Now I'm going to withdraw my money. So what should I do? I should go to any one of the SBI ATM. Now I should insert my debit card. Once I insert my debit card, what happens? First, it will ask me to enter my user ID and password. So what it will do internally? First, it will verify your card information. But when it comes to ATM, ATM is a just dummy machine. It doesn't contain your data. Customer details are not there in the ATM. Customer details are there in the database. Are you reading me? So this machine is nothing but a client, like your browser. It will let you access your information. Are you reading me? But it doesn't hold any physical information. It doesn't hold any information physically. Your ATM doesn't store any information. This is a kind of user interface which allows you to perform different banking operations, but it doesn't store any data. But where is the customer data? Customer data is there in the SBI database. So when I insert my debit card into SBI ATM, so what it will do? It sends some request. First, it reads your card information. I mean, it reads your account information and card expiry date, and it will ask you to enter user ID and password. Then it sends that request to the respective database server for verification. First, it will capture the information required to authenticate the user. That's why it will ask you to enter user ID and password. So it reads account information from your card and it reads up credential information from the user, from this interface, and it will combine both into a request object, and it sends that request to the respective database server. Once a request comes to database server, here some levels of verification will be done. First, it will verify your account details. Then it will verify your credential information. Then it will check the amount requested for withdrawal. After several levels of verification, if all levels of verifications are passed, then it sends some response code back to the ATM machine. That response code will tell the ATM whether user should be allowed to withdraw his money or not. Alright, so this level of communication has to be exchanged between your ATM machine and database. Your ATM machine is a user interface. It doesn't store any data. For every verification, it should send request to the respective database server. Some verification has to be done. After several levels of verification, it sends some response code back to the ATM machine, and based on this response code, your ATM machine will decide whether user should be allowed to withdraw his money or not. Alright, see, this ATM is located somewhere in Hyderabad, and your database is there in USA. And not only from Hyderabad, I can withdraw my money from same SBI ATM, which is located in Mumbai. Across India, from anywhere, I can withdraw my money from SBI ATM. But you can insert your debit card into any ATM, but finally request should go to the same database server. Here, your ATM is located somewhere, your database is located somewhere. But how exactly this communication is getting exchanged from one location to another location between different systems, right? If I insert my debit card, it should read the information and send it to respective database. This is in Hyderabad and this is located in US. Now the information has to be passed from Hyderabad to US over the network. So how exactly this communication is getting exchanged? And not only from SBI, in the beginnings when ATM was introduced in the 80s, that time we used to withdraw our money from only SBI ATMs, only the same bank ATMs. Not only SBI, it can be anything. Right? In the beginning, when the ATM was introduced for the first time in India, if you are the customer of some X bank, you should withdraw your money from only X bank. You cannot withdraw your money from Y bank, because that time this kind of technology is not available. For example, here it is ICICI. Now, let us assume that we are in 80s. Now, the ATM has been introduced recently. There are some restrictions. If I am the customer of SBI, I should withdraw my money from only SBI. I cannot withdraw my money from ICICI. Why? For example, when it comes to ICICI, if I insert, when it comes to ICICI, ICICI will have their own database server. My details will not be available under ICICI database because I'm not the customer of ICICI. What will be there in ICICI database? Only ICICI customer details will be available under ICICI database. Now, if I insert my debit card into ICICI ATM, what happens? Does it recognize my card? It reads your card information, but sends request, but this will not be matched since you are not the customer of ICICI. It will reject your transaction. Because there is some communication established between ICICI ATM and ICICI database, but there is no communication established between your ICICI ATM and your SBI database. Right? How does it verify my details? Already me. So in 80s, there was no communication established between different platforms, different systems. That's why if you are the customer of X bank, we used to withdraw money from only that X bank. You are allowed to withdraw money from only that X bank. You are not allowed to withdraw money from other bank ATMs because that time, now this latest technology is not available. So that time, we were able to communicate between only same platforms. We were unable to communicate between different platforms. Already me. So yeah, there is no communication established between ICICI and SBI. Okay, so let's try to establish the communication. Now, I am establishing the communication between ICICI and this. Now what happens? If I insert my debit card into ICICI, now it has access to ICICI database as well as SBI database. But the thing is, in 80s, if you want to establish a communication between two different platforms, two different ATMs, two different banks, both should use same operating system. I mean, if SBI is using Windows, ICICI should also use Windows. But when it comes to third party, they can use their own operating system. Let us assume that SBI is using Windows, but ICICI is using Linux. In that case, this communication is not possible. So, first, how do I establish this communication between two different platforms? How do I exchange information between two different systems? Right? So if you want to allow users to withdraw their money from other bank ATM, so what has to be done? Some kind of communication has to be established between other bank and your bank database. If this is not there, what happens? It doesn't know anything about your database. Now, if you are the customer of ICICI, you should withdraw your money from only ICICI. If I am the customer of SBI, I should withdraw money from only SBI because there is no communication established between these two platforms. But nowadays, we are able to withdraw money from any bank ATM. Why? In 80s, there was no communication established between different platforms. That's why we were unable to withdraw money from different bank ATMs. If you belong to X bank, you should withdraw your money from only X bank. But nowadays, irrespective of other things, you can be of any bank customer. You can withdraw money from any bank ATM. Why? Nowadays, the communication has been established between different systems like this. Not only with ICICI. If there are 100 banks, now your SBI database is connected to 100 different banks. Now you can withdraw your money from any ATM. So you can insert your debit card into any ATM, but finally request should go to your respective database server. If you are going to withdraw your money from ICICI, you are not the customer of ICICI, your details are not available on ICICI database. So what it has to do, once you insert your debit card, again, same process will take place. It reads your card's information. It will ask you to enter your credential information and sends a request to not ICICI. It will identify your bank. So based on some code, it will recognize the bank of the customer and it sends a request to the respective bank. Are you with me? So here, it has to verify your credentials and everything. Same process will take place. Then it sends some response code back to that corresponding ATM. And based on this, it will decide whether user has to be allowed to withdraw his money or not. So what I wasn't trying to say is, if you want to exchange the communication between different systems over the network, so what has to be done? Some kind of channel has to be established between those systems. Then only you'll be able to send communication between different systems. So what is this channel? So this channel, this communication can be established using a powerful application called distributed application. Distributed application. Just because of this, we're able to withdraw money from different bank ATMs. And not only this, if you take your WhatsApp, right? I am here and you are there in US. If I say hi, immediately you'll be able to see hi. Now, when you say, how are you? I'll be able to see how are you. Then how this communication is getting exchanged between your device and my device. So if anything has to be transferred between different systems over the network, so that communication can be possible only through distributed application. Are you with me? So whenever you want to exchange the communication between two different ends, two different systems located in two different locations. Are you with me? So when something has to be exchanged over different systems, different locations, then you have to create a distributed application because that communication is possible only through distributed application. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
Okay. So if you take this banking application, now we are able to withdraw money from any bank, not only within India, across the world. Why? Because now your bank is connected to different systems, different other bank ATMs. So they have implemented a distributed technology to establish the communication between different systems, different banking systems. So that's why we are able to withdraw money from different ATMs. Okay. Now we need to know how to implement this thing, how to create the channel, and how to establish the communication between two different systems. So as I said, this can be done through distributed application. So when it comes to distributed application, here we have different types of technologies. A distributed application can be implemented. A distributed application can be implemented in different ways. Those are going to be remoting, web services, and RESTful services. How do I implement a distributed application? A distributed application can be implemented in three different ways: remoting, web services, and RESTful services. Now, what should I choose? We have three different technologies available to establish the communication between different systems. Now, based on my requirement, I have to decide which technology has to be chosen to fulfill my requirement. So, if you want to do that, first you need to know the difference between remoting, web service, and RESTful services. So, let's move towards the first one, remoting. As I said, in 80s, there was no communication between different systems, different bank systems, because that time these two technologies are not available, web service and RESTful services. We used to develop all types of distributed applications using only remoting. Remoting is very powerful, but it is a platform dependent technology. It is a platform dependent technology. It means it provides communication between only homogeneous platforms, same platforms. I mean, let's say I say SBI using Windows. If ICICI is also using Windows, now I can use remoting to establish the communication between SBI and ICICI. But when it comes to ICICI, this is a third-party system. They can use any operating system. If ICICI is using a different operating system like Linux and Unix, now remoting doesn't provide communication between different platforms. If both are using same platforms, then only the communication is possible. If these two are using two different operating systems, then the communication is not possible, because remoting provides communication between only homogeneous platforms. That's why in 80s, when the ATM was introduced for the first time, we used to implement all types of communications using only remoting. That's why this communication was not possible. We were unable to interact with different other bank ATMs, because that time we have implemented the distributed application using remoting. So when it comes to remoting, it provides access to only homogeneous platforms. I mean, the communication can be exchanged within the same platforms. If other party is using different platform, the communication cannot be exchanged. All right, because it is a platform dependent technology. After some time, to make it available to different platforms, all right, to exchange the communication between different platforms. So they have introduced another powerful technology that is called a web service. Web service. When it comes to web service is a platform independent technology. It provides communication between different platforms. It provides communication between different platforms, irrespective of the operating system. Let's say SBI using Windows, ICICI using Unix. Yes, still you can communicate. Doesn't matter. Read. So after web service has been introduced, then we started communicating between different ATMs. We started withdrawing money from different bank ATMs. Read. Because that has been, the independent communication has been made possible through your web services. So web service is a platform independent distributed technology It provides communication between different platforms, different heterogeneous platforms, heterogeneous applications. Alright, so just because of web services, we were able to communicate between different platforms. We were able to withdraw money from different bank ATMs. So after this web service concept has been implemented, introduced by Java and .NET and other technologies, now everyone has started implementing a platform independent distributed application. So that's why we were able to communicate between different systems, irrespective of the technologies. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
Okay. So remoting is a platform dependent one. It is very faster, but the problem is it is a platform dependent technology. And web service is a platform independent technology, but still it has some limitations. When it comes to remoting and web services, it has to follow certain rules, certain protocols to exchange the information. The server will decide some rules for exchanging the communication between two ends. And whoever wants to consume this service, they should follow the similar rules. If they are failed to follow the similar rules, they cannot consume this service. It has defined set of rules for arrangement of data. And whenever you want to consume the data, you should also follow those rules defined by your server. There are some restrictions. So to break that restrictions, they introduce another powerful technology, that is RESTful services. Nowadays, it is leading the world. It is leading the world. RESTful services. Without any protocol, without any rule, you can consume it in any way as you like. There are no rules. There are no rules in the process of exchanging data from between two ends. Everything can be sent as a string. When it comes to string, there are no rules. The whole data, the whole information can be exchanged as a string. Alright, that's why we call it as RESTful services. No need to follow any protocol. You can send any type of data in any format. It will be accepted. Everything will be exchanged in the form of a string. Here, when it comes to remoting, your data will be exchanged in binary format. When it comes to web services, your data will be exchanged in XML format. They do use some SOAP protocols. When it comes to RESTful services, there are no protocols to be followed. Data will be exchanged in the form of JSON string. Data will be exchanged in the form of JSON string. It is a string. No rules to be defined. Okay, so we will see all the three. Okay, in today's class, we are going to implement remoting. Let's see how to establish the communication between two different systems using remoting. Then we will get into web service. Okay, and before getting into that, you need to understand two things. There are two important concepts. What are those? Whenever you want to send something to anyone, yeah, two things will come into the picture. Formatting and transmission. Formatting protocol. What is a protocol? Protocol is nothing but set of rules defined to achieve a specific operation. Formatting protocol and transmission protocol. For example, you are in US and today your friend is in India. He is going to celebrate some birthday today. You wanted to send him some gift. Then what will you do? Immediately, you have to decide what has to be gifted. Next, once your gift is identified, so once you bought your gift, then what you have to do? You have to think about how to send this gift to your friend. Here, two things will come into the picture. Whenever you want to send something from US to India or from one location to another location, two things will come into your mind. What are those two things? First, If you have bought the costly gift, you will think about the security. Here, in order to transfer that from US to India, right? If you want to deliver that, send that gift from US to India, you'll have to choose a courier. When it comes to courier, there can be a number of courier companies like DTDC, Blue Dart, and other. Now, what you have to do to send that gift from US to India, you have to choose a courier. If you take DTD, some X courier, Y courier, and Z courier. X courier is little cheaper than Y courier. Y courier is little cheaper than Z courier. Z is very expensive, but they do deliver everything very securely. They provide a lot of security. Now, what will you choose? You will choose the courier. All the three are most important here. Are you to me? Again, that depends upon the kind of gift that you are going to deliver. If it is not that much costly gift, what you will do? You will go for either X or Y, because there you can save some money. Because if I choose Jet, I just want to send some greeting card. Why should I choose Jet? I can send it through X or Y, right? I can save some money. If you want to send some gold coins, definitely you will go for Jet. Why? There you will think about the security. I can choose X. I can save some money, but this guy is not that much secured. I'm not sure whether he'll be able to deliver it securely or not. Are you with me? So in this case, we do not compromise on the fee. Are you with me? So we will definitely go for Jet, because their security will come into your mind. We will not think about the amount that we are paying. We will think about only the security. Are you with me? That is first thing. And second thing, today only is going to celebrate the birthday. Now what has to be done? If I hand over that gift to courier, if he delivers it tomorrow, there will be no use. Are you with me? At any cost, it has to be delivered by evening. Your speed will come into the picture. Speed will come into the picture. Right? Now we have to choose a courier who can deliver it by today end of the day. Who delivers it very fast. Are you with me? So again, based on your requirement, these things will come into the picture. If you are going to transfer something from one end to another end, two things will come into the picture. One is speed, another one is security. And security is the most important thing. Are you with me? And if you are going to send a greeting before handovering that your gift to courier, if it is a simple greeting, just you will keep it in a cover and give it to the courier, hand over it to the courier, write the address on top of it and hand over it. You will not think much about the packaging the gift. If you are going to send gold coin, will you hand out the gold coin as is directly to the courier? No. Then you will think about the arrangement of your gift. Right? It should not be visible to anyone. Right? Because they'll be carrying that through flight or some mode. Right? In between, someone can enter and steal that also. Right? Because if you're sending it through a flight, if it is a connecting flight, if that is holding somewhere, if that is landed in some X point, from there again, your courier and everything has to be exchanged. They will take it out and put it into another flight. In the process of exchanging these things, someone can steal your gold coin. That's why if you're going to send a costly gift, gold coin, you should also think about the arrangement of that gift, the packaging that. Then what you will do? You will keep it inside a box. And you will try to add one more on top of it. You will try to make it very stronger. If someone try to hit, they should not. It should be very difficult to hit that. So you'll try your best to make it very stronger. So here what you are doing, you will try to add more layers on top of your gift. to protect it from thieves. Are you with me? If someone try to open it, it should not be opened. They should not see it. Are you with me? So here, not only security. When you talk about a security, two things will come into the picture. How do I transmit it more securely? Though they are transferring it very securely, but still, in the process of exchanging or transferring your gift from one end to another end, if someone try to steal it, it should not be visible. Are you to me? So in this case, what should I do? I should package it using some strong boxes. So whatever is required to protect it, to protect your gift, whatever is required to get it transferred more securely, you would use all those things. Are you to me? Two things will come into the picture. Should be transferred securely and should be arranged more securely. So whenever you want to send something from one end to another end, two things will come into your mind. How do I arrange my gift more securely? Where should I use a box? Should I use a simple cover? So arrangement of your gift is also most important. Though you are delivering it through some jet courier, though you are paying more to deliver that, but still, if you do not arrange it properly, there may be some chances of losing your gift. The jet courier may be a reputed company, most reputed company. But the implies that those who are working for that company, they may do the mistakes. They may open your gift. They may steal it. Right? So arrangement of gift is also most important. First, arrange it properly. Then choose a proper courier. So your two things will come into the picture. When something has to be transferred from one end to another end, your two things will come into the picture. First, your gift has to be arranged properly. First, arrangement of your gift will come to the picture. Then choosing a secured courier is the second thing. Because you are not going to transfer it. Courier is the one who is going to carry your gift from your location to your friend location. So when it comes to online, see here, when it comes to your WhatsApp, now I'm going to send some important information to my friend. If I'm sending some important information from my WhatsApp to my friend WhatsApp, your two things will come into the picture. My data should be transferred more securely from one end to another end. So yeah, two things will come into the picture. What are those two things? Formatting and transmission. To arrange your data, you have to follow certain rules to protect it from hackers, because my data is going to be transferred over the network. If something is getting transferred over the network, in between, some hackers can enter and hack your data. You have to protect your data from hackers. Though you are delivering it through secure channel, but still there are some chances of hacking your data. So that's why arrangement of data should also be done properly. So first your data has to be arranged properly. Then you have to choose a secure channel to get it delivered from your end to your friend end. So that's why two things will come into the picture: formatting protocol and transmission protocol. What is the use of formatting protocol? This will take care of arranging your request. Arrangement of request. Formatting protocol will take care of arranging your data in a specific format. And what transmission protocol will do? It will take care of transferring data from one location to another location. So transmission protocol is nothing but your courier, like your XYZ courier. It will take care of transferring your data. So when it comes to formatting protocol, we have different type of formatters like binary formatter, SOAP formatter, binary formatter, and SOAP formatter. And when it comes to transmission protocol, you will see different types of protocol like TCP, HTTP, HTTPS, IPC, and some custom protocols. These are all like your couriers, different couriers, like X courier, Y courier, Z courier. Are you reading me? So when it comes to TCP, TCP is very secure and very faster, but it provides communication between only homogeneous platforms. If the data has to be transferred between different platforms, then you would choose HTTP. But HTTP is not that much secured. If you want your data has to be transferred more securely, then you have to choose HTTPS. HTTPS is more secure protocol compared to HTTP. That's why in your Google, whenever I type some URL, it will be highlighted with like TCP, HTTP, HTTPS. What are those? Those are the transmission protocols. Those are the ones who will take care of carrying your information from client to server, server to client, from one end to another end. Now, if you go to your ATM application, what has to be done? How do I establish communication? Who will transfer my data from ATM to database, database to ATM? That is going to be your transmission protocol. These are the ones who will take care of transferring data from one end to another end. And when it comes to remoting is a platform-dependent technology. Here we will make use of binary formatter to arrange request and response. When it comes to web service, it is a platform-independent technology. So here we will make use of SOAP formatter, simple object access protocol. We will make use of SOAP formatter. What SOAP will do? SOAP will arrange request and response in XML format. So the communication will be exchanged in XML format. So the request and response arrangement will be done using XML. That is called SOAP formatter. And when it comes to RESTful service, no format is required. No format is that way. That's why it has become very popular. Anything can be sent in a string format. That is going to be JSON string. Yeah, the communication will be exchanged in the form of a JSON string. Any questions, guys?
No.
So whenever
No,
you want to establish some communication between two ends, you should always think about two things. How do I format my data? Like how do I arrange my data? What has to be used? That depends upon your requirement. If you are going to use a remoting, you have to use binary formatter. If you are going to use web service, you have to use SOAP formatter. And if I'm going to use RESTful service, no formatter is required. I can send it in a JSON string format. And second thing, after arranging your request or response, then you should think about how do I transfer my data more securely. Again, that depends upon your requirement. Whether you want to choose TCP, HTTP, or HTTPS. Okay. Now you know how to arrange our request and how to transfer data from one end to another end. So let's see how to implement a distributed application using remoting. Any questions, guys?
no.
No, sir.
Okay. So when it comes to remoting, as I said, we should do two things. Remoting. What are those? If you want to send something from one end to another end, first you should get that something ready. Get that something ready. Get your requirements. Ready. Ready me. So what do you want to send? Get that thing ready. Okay. Next, once your requirement is ready, now what should I do? Here, I should design, for example, if the customer has to be allowed to withdraw his money from ATM, what should I do? First, I should prepare my server application. If this is not there, what is the use of ATM? Ready? Okay, so ATM is a user interface. We can call it as a client. An ATM can also be called as a client. Your browser can also be called as a client. Like whoever is interacting with your backend server through this interface, those will become clients, right? Here we are interacting to this backend database through this ATM. So ATM is kind of user interface, right? This is called a client. So in order to establish the communication between these two ends, and in these two ends, so your ATM is called as client and this backend thing is called as server. So what has to be done? First, you should create your server application, then create your client application, Then decide what has to be transferred from server to client, client to server. Then establish the communication using your transmission protocol. Okay. So here we need to do the three things. First, get the thing ready, get like whatever you want to deliver, get that requirement ready. Then prepare your server application, prepare your client application, then establish the communication and start communicating. Okay. Three things. Get your requirement ready. Next, create your server app. Next, create your client app. There can be n number of clients. Server app is going to be only one. There can be n number of clients, n number of ATMs, right? So once the server is ready, n number of clients can interact with this server. Okay. So minimum one client is mandatory. Okay. So with this it can be anything, whether you're using remoting web service or anything, always the communication will be exchanged between two ends. Whoever is consuming the service will become consumer or client, and whoever is hosting that service will become server. So when it comes to distributed application, always the communication will be exchanged between two ends, client and server. So the client server architecture will come into the picture. That is what we need to create. First, create your requirement, create your server app, and create your client app. Let's see how to do this. Okay. So for example, I would like to create a mathematical reusable component where I want to keep all reusable operations. And I want to make those operations available to different clients. And whoever wants to perform any mathematical operation, they can just call my service and make use of all operations that are available in my service. And what is the requirement here? What has to be delivered to the client? Different mathematical operations. Okay. So first I need to design my component, my mathematical component with different operations. So we have discussed in the beginning, when you want to deliver something, do not expose that something as is. Let's say I've written some piece of code to design those operations. If I expose my code as is to the end user, what happens? There will be no security for your code. Rather, what has to be done? If I want to write any subprogram, I should keep it in a container called class. If I want to write any class, that has to be placed into a namespace, and namespace has to be placed into a library, and everything should be given to the end user in the form of a library. If you develop anything in the form of a library, that provides security to your code, and it can be reused by a number of people, right? So our requirement is going to be like, you have to design a mathematical class, place some mathematical operations, and build it as a library. So whenever you want to, you lost something. Whenever, guys, can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, whenever you want to create a library, okay, like your system.dll, system.data.dll. So how do we develop our own library? So here, we have an application called Windows class library. Whenever you want to develop your own library, make use of Windows class library. New project. Here I can see, go to web, not web. Class library. You can see class library .NET framework. Select this, give the name as my math library. You can give any name. And where do you want to store it? There. in C, I want to create my own my math lib. I want to save it here. Okay, now create. Now, for example, if I'm going to use a remoting, as I said, what has to be done? Now the communication has to be exchanged between two ends. As I said, if you're going to use remoting, so you have to use a specific protocol to arrange your request and response. When it comes to remoting, if you want to send something using remoting from one end to other end, data has to be arranged in binary format. Data has to be arranged in binary format. So here we have a concept called serialization and deserialization. What is serialization? For example, server wants to send something to the client. What it has to do? It has to arrange data in a specific format. Then it has to be sent or through the network, right? So the process of converting, when it comes to network cannot understand your language. So your request can be arranged using any protocol, but finally it has to be converted into network understandable format. So the process of converting your object, your request into this network format is called serialization. So here we are using binary format. So the process of converting your data into binary format is called serialization. And the reverse process, the process of reading that stream and converting it back to original format is called as deserialization. So the process is called serialization, deserialization. So in case of your remoting application, serialization, deserialization will takes place. Okay. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
The process of converting your original request object into network-based stream is called serialization. And the process of reading that stream and constructing the original format, original object, is called as deserialization. Because over the network, data will be transmitted in bytes, right? In bits and bytes, in network-based stream, right? So in order to transmit anything, first your original object has to be converted into network-based stream. And it will be transmitting over the network in the form of network-based string. And once it reaches client, what has to be done? You have to read that stream and construct the original object. So the process of converting your request into network-based stream is called serialization, and a reverse process, reading that stream and constructing the object, is called as deserialization. Okay, you should remember these terminologies. Okay, now what should I do? First, I should make use of binary formatter to arrange my data. Okay, so first let's prepare your requirement. This is my class. I'm giving it as math lib. And to support serialization, deserialization, you have to inherit a class called Marshall by ref object. Now put all your operations like public int add of int a comma. You can transmit anything. I'm just keeping simple operations. Int b, return a plus b. So return a minus b. Product return a into b. Like this, you can keep a number of operations. And I'd like to know, like, whenever the object of my class is created, I'd like to know whether that object is created or not. So here I'm going to keep a constructor just to track whether the object is created or not. Console.writeLine. If you want, you can keep it, otherwise we'll discuss about it later. Okay. Fine. Okay, so this is my class. I placed three different methods: add, sub, and product. Now build it as a library. Okay. So if you build your application, it will generate a .dll file. .dll file. Go to opening container. See, I can see, if you go to bin folder, see, I can see my math library.dll. Now my class has been generated in the form of a library. Now this library can be added to any application, any project. So wherever you need to reuse my programs, there you just need to add a reference of my library. Now this can be added to anyone. This can be reused by anyone, any project. Okay. Okay. Our requirement is ready. Now we have designed what needs to be delivered. Get your requirement ready. Our class is ready. Next, what has to be done? Now I need to create my server app. Okay. I need to create my server app. So as part of creating your server app, what should I do? Now I should tell the system which protocol has to be used, because in order to send something, what should I do first? I should create some channel with some unique port number, and I should register that channel. What is a channel? Channel is nothing but your transmission protocol. I have to choose whether I should use TCP, HTTP, or let me choose your protocol and register that protocol using a unique port number. As I said, on the web, there will be millions of applications. All the system will recognize the target system based on the port number. So use a unique port number and register your channel. Once your channel is registered, now host your application. What has to be delivered? What has to be delivered? Our math class has to be delivered. Okay. So let's see that, how to create your server app. So just keep it here and open one more application. Now we are going to create our server application. Just continue without code. Create a new project. So here remoting cannot be hosted in any web server. It should be hosted in the console window. Your console window is going to be your server. My remoting service. I'm just giving the name as my remoting service. Create. Now what should I do? So whatever needs to be delivered, just add a reference of that. I want to deliver that math class, right? So add reference that. Go to add reference and browse. Add your DLL. My mathlib, bin debug. Right? And if I want to use the DLL, you're using my math library. Okay. Now what should I do? And rebuild this. Keep a breakpoint here. Console.writeline. When an object is created, I just want to display some message saying that object created. Object created. Because whenever you create object to this class, what happens? The constructor will be invoked automatically. I just wanted to see this message. I wanted to know whether object is created or not. Just rebuild it. Okay. I just wanted to remove and add it again. Okay, right. Now what should I do? This is my server application. First, I have to decide which protocol has to be used. So we have a DLL called system.runtime.remoting. So that provides everything that is required to create your server application. So add reference from this assemblies .NET Pro DLLs, from framework DLLs, search for system.runtime. Here you can see system.runtime.remoting and system.runtime.serialization. Add these two. Okay. and use those library, get them imported into your programming environment. System dot runtime using system dot runtime dot remoting. Next, using system dot runtime dot remoting dot, we have it like the channels, and using system dot runtime dot remoting dot channels dot. Here we have these many channels. Here we have these many channels: TCP, IPC, HTTP. Now remoting can be hosted using these three protocols. Okay. Now you have to decide which protocol has to be used. Anyway, remoting provides communication between only same platforms, right? What is the difference between TCP and HTTP? TCP provides communication between same platforms. HTTP provides communication between different platforms. So TCP is the right option. Okay. Now create your channel. How do I create it? So TCP comes with a class called TCP channel. TCP channel. So create object of this TCP channel. Object is nothing but your channel name. Let's say my channel is equal to new TCP channel. Now we are creating a channel. As I said, while creating the channel, you have to create it using a unique port number, because whenever someone wants to access your application, when they send some request, right? So system has to identify. So that's why every web related thing should be hosted using a unique port number. So that is the unique identity of your service. Based on that only system will identify. So here you can give any port number. I'm giving it as 3000. Okay. This is my channel name. Now what I should done? I created my channel. Okay. Next, you have to register your channel. Channel services. We have class of channel services dot a register channel of your channel name, my channel. So it comes with one more additional property, ensure security. Just give it to true. It will add some additional security levels. Any questions, guys?
No.
No, sir.
One second, guys. Yes, sir. Okay, so we have created our channel with unique port number. Now this channel has to be registered. Register your channel. Now what has to be done? Now your class has to be hosted. Your service has to be hosted, and you have to provide like what has to be delivered. Whenever request comes to your service, you should tell the system what has to be delivered. Okay, so we have another property called remoting configuration dot register well-known service type. Where is it? Okay, so here we are hosting the service of. You should tell the system what has to be hosted, which is nothing but type of your class. What is the class name? My math library. Next, my math library. What is the class name here? Mathlib. Mathlib. And what is the service name? How do I access your service? Okay, here you should provide two unique identities. One is port number, one is service name. Let's say math remoting service. I'm giving it as math rem service. This is the name of this service. Next, here you have to follow some design pattern, because once your service is hosted, n number of people can hit your service. Whenever anyone wants to access your class, what has to be done? First, class object has to be created. If 1,000 requests comes to your server, if you create object for every user, what happens? 1,000 different objects will be created on the server. If 1 million requests comes to your service, so if you start creating a separate object for each and every user, if million requests comes to your server, million objects will be created, right? It will occupy a lot of memory in your RAM that might degrade performance of your application. So here we have two things: well-known object mode dot. Here we have a design pattern called single call and singleton. Single call and singleton. Let's see both. If I say single call, what happens? Whenever the user request comes, one object will be created and it will be processed. His request will be processed. Once that request gets processed, object will be destroyed. When second user request comes, one more object will be there. For every user, one separate object will be created. And once that corresponding request gets processed, object will be destroyed. If million requests comes to your server, millions of objects will be created. Let's see. That's it. We are done with the server application. We are done with the server. So we created our channel using unique port number, registered our channel, and hosted the service. While hosting service, you have to tell the system like what has to be delivered. My math lib. What is your server name? And which pattern has to be used? Whether you want to create a separate object for every call. Okay, let's see single call and singleton. In case of single call, for every user, one separate object will be created. And once that user request is processed, object will be destroyed. If I use singleton, what happens? Whenever the first request comes to your server, one object will be created, and the same object will be reused towards different client requests. Okay, let's see that. First, let's see single call. Now, console.write line. I'm just printing a message saying that server started. Server started, right? Now let's start this. And keep console at read also to hold your console window. Server started, right? Now you hosted your service. Now this can be accessed from any client, Now let's create client application. What client will do? Client will consume the service hosted at server. Just do not stop this because your server should be on. Now let's create a client application. So your client can be anything. Your client can be console, your client can be Windows. You can create any client application. It can be accessed from anywhere. New project. I'm choosing again console as my client, but you can choose Windows or any application. First client app. Okay. Now, as I said, when it comes to client, what client will do? Client sends request to that service. What service will do? It will send that math library to the client. But in the process of exchanging it, first server, what server will do? It will serialize your math library and send it to the client. Once it comes to client, what it has to do, it has to deserialize it, read that stream, and construct the original object, the similar object. That's why here also we need to add the reference of that class, the reference of the type. That's it. Math library. And also add remoting. System dot runtime. Okay. Now what is the class? Math using my math lib. What is the class name? Math lib. Obj. Okay. Here we have a method called activator. Activator. Okay. Activator dot get object. So what it will do? Activator get object. So this will take care of. Activator get object will take care of reading the stream and constructing the original object. So here you have to specify. It takes 3 parameters. What is the type? After reading the stream, what is the target type to be converted? To which type the stream has to be converted? So that is type and URL of your service. These two are mandatory. Okay. So type is going to be type of which type? That is going to be mathlib. So it has to be converted into mathlib class, the type of the response. And what is the service URL? What is the service URL? So you have to build that service URL. Where is your server application? This is my server application. What is the name of service? Math rim service. Which port number has been used? 3000. Now your URL is going to be, what is the protocol that we have used? TCP. It is a local host, right? Hosted in our local system. So it is a local host. Local host colon. What is the port number that we used? 3000. And what is the service name? So this is the URL of your remoting service. Which protocol has been used to host your service? TCP. And it is a local host. We are running it in the local server, right? And what is the port number used to host your service? 3000. And what is the service name? Okay. So it will call this service and it is going to send some response that will be converted. What is the response of that type? Mathlib. Now it has to be stored into one of your local variable. Okay. So this has to be casted explicitly into mathlib. Any questions, guys? Now we got that object. We have received that object. Now I can call this object obj dot. Here I can see add, subtraction, and product. Right? Now I can call console dot write line. Or you can see like int sum is equal to obj dot add of some 10, 20. Now I am able to reuse those operations. Int product is equal to obj dot product of 10, 12. Right? Console dot write line. Sum is sum. Okay, this is my current application. Now let's see. Console dot read. Okay, now this is your server application. Server has started. Till now, no request came to your server. Now I'm going to send my first request. That's why you can see here no object has created so far. Okay. Now see these two or three different applications, right? This is my server application. Okay, let's keep a breakpoint here. And this is my client application. Okay. Now I'm going to let's keep a breakpoint here. Okay, and run this. This is my client. Like this, there can be a number of clients. Now I want to. So this what it will do? It calls this service. See now object got extracted. Now you can see all those things. Now it sent request to your service. Let's run it again. There may be some. Server is ready. I'm going to start the client application. This is my server application. Looks like it is blocking this port number. Let's use another port number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Okay. If there are any firewalls that would block these port numbers. Fine. And the port number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. It sent the request. Actually, there is some problem with the port number. Let's use another port number. Let's make it false, but maybe blocking. Eight zero eight five. Okay, now it succeeded. See, the sum is 30. Here you can see. Now we send request to your server, right? Object created. Object created. See, object created. For every user request, one separate object will be created. Once the request is processed, it will be destroyed. See, I'm going to send one more request. See, object created, 3 objects. I'm going to send one more request, calling product service. See, object created, right? If million requests comes to your service, millions of objects will be created. Do you think it is the ideal practice? No, it keeps a lot of burden on the system. So rather, so I don't want to create these many objects. Okay. So whenever the first request from first user comes to your service, one object has to be created, and that object has to be used towards different sub requests. So if you want to do that, so what has to be done? So here, change your design pattern. Instead of single call, use singleton. What is a singleton design pattern? Whenever the first request comes, it creates an object, and that will be holding up to some time. And within that duration, if any request comes, the same object will be used towards different sub requests. It doesn't create a separate object for each and every user request. Let's see that. Server started. Okay. Now let's start the client application. Okay. Now see, no object is created so far. Nothing got created. Now we are going to call the service, the first service. Okay. Sum has completed. Now I can see the first object created over there. See, first object created. Now I'm going to hit the service again, calling product service. Product got completed. But here, still I can see one object, right? The same object is getting reused towards different requests. This is called singleton design pattern. Any questions, guys?
No.
This is something about your remoting service. Okay. Next, web service. When it comes to web service, as I said, so the remoting provides communication between only homogeneous platforms, same platforms. So if the communication has to be transferred between different platforms, then your approach should be towards web service. When it comes to web service, you don't have to write, this much of code manually, right? So your Microsoft is providing a ready-made framework where you can just write your methods and host it. You don't need to, create the channels manually. Like you don't need to write that much code to create your channel, register your channel. Okay. So how do I create a web service? Same simple thing. Now close these apps. Create a new application. Continue without code. So when it comes to web service is a platform independent technology. So it has to be hosted using either HTTP or HTTPS. Okay. And the data has to be arranged using SOAP formatter. What SOAP will do? SOAP will arrange your data in XML format. So in case of web service, data will be exchanged in XML format. Yeah, type web service. Like it is not installed. Looks like it is not installed. Okay, guys, we'll install it tomorrow and we'll show it to you tomorrow. Okay.
Oh.
ASP.NET Web application. Let's see. Looks like it is not installed. We'll install it. Okay, so we will discuss web service and other things tomorrow. We'll get it installed. Okay. Any questions, guys?
Oh.
Okay, then fine. We'll meet tomorrow.